Hi everyone, this is Victor from CrushCrypto.com. Today we have Sandeep Nailwal, co-founder and COO of Matic Network, a blockchain project implementing Plasma. Hi Sandeep, great to have you here.
Hi, Victor. Thanks for inviting me here.
Yeah, so I think to begin with, why don't you give a brief introduction of Matic Network because it's a pretty new project, so I don't think a lot of people are familiar with the project.
Sure. So, Matic Network is a layer 2 scaling solution. And, we all know currently the biggest challenge a blockchain ecosystem is facing is with scalability and user experience. So both of these are our focus areas, scalability as well as, the user experience is most important for us. So Matic Network is a Plasma inspired layer 2 scaling solution where it has side chains which are built, which are almost like which are like EVM based side chains which can run your asset transfers and different kind of smart contracts also. And in future we expect to have generalized state transition security on the main chain itself. But currently it supports all kind of transactions on the side chain. So or any kind of dApps can use existing dApps on Ethereum. They can use simply Matic side chains to have faster and low cost transactions. So yeah, that's what it all
Got it.
about. Yeah.
And can you also tell me a little bit about the team? Like, how did you guys come together and decide to work on this project?
So, we all three of us have been very active in Indian, blockchain space. So, around 1.5 to 2 years back, we met, on a WhatsApp group and all, and then we became friends, and we've been working on various kind of initiatives, even before Matic also. So, I had a consulting firm here, and Jayanti was also sometimes consulting some of the firms. Anurag also comes from a fintech background. So, we already knew each other a lot. And then Jayanti came up with this idea. And, Jayanti has been already very important contributor to, Plasma space. So he was also one of the first guys who implemented the Plasma MVP, or the first POC for Plasma MVP. And then we realized that there are some problems with the with the with the plain vanilla Plasma, and there may be a usability problems and all. And then we realized that, yeah, I mean, we can do maybe a state based or account based Plasma. And we started working on a POC. And when Jayanti completed a POC, we all realized that this is very good, and this can be really something big. So then we all three joined hands and jumped full time into this. So this was around end of last year to January February around. And it's been, the story has been that like that since last, like 7, 8, 10 months. So we've been working already on this product for last 7, 8 months in that way, around 10 months ideally in that way. So yeah, so that's where we started. And we've been
Got it.
going strong since then.
And so Plasma is a relatively new technology, and the white paper, I believe, was written last year or something like that. So, and there are also a lot of different implementations of Plasma, like for example, Plasma Cash, Debit, XL, MVP, Unlimited, and so on and so forth. So, and I know that you guys are working on Plasma MVP. So, what in any way that is Plasma MVP better than other implementations of Plasma?
Yeah. So we are not, precisely working on Plasma MVP. You'd say Plasma MVP was the original Plasma POC that we wrote somewhere in February, March sort of stuff. So, but ours is and also ours is a Plasma inspired solution. We are not like completely and idealistic, or idealistic approach on Plasma. We take Plasma as a framework, and we have done a lot of improvements on top of that framework. and that's when we have come up with Matic. So basically, what how Matic sidechains work is that, so just in a very layman terms, imagine Matic sidechains as running faster Ethereums, on top of the base Matic base chain, which is like a bit slower, but it is more decentralized and more secure. So in very layman terms, you can imagine Matic sidechains as running these micro universes of which are Ethereum itself in all their functionality, running on top of the Ethereum layer, which provides them the security and then the exit guarantees and all that. So these asset transfers and asset exits and asset verifiability on the main chain are some of the things that we derive from Plasma. But apart from that, our validator layer, so we have built it in the form, so we use the Tendermint consensus on our validator layer. So the validator layer is very highly decentralized layer which verifies all the transactions that are happening on the side chain. So basically, Matic Network is a three-layered architecture. You have a side chain on top of which has its own consensus, and the block producers participate in the block production and all. On top of that layer, there is a validator layer, which is a highly decentralized layer where anybody from public can join, and they can start validating the transactions that are happening on the main chain. And then on top of that, you have the main chain where validators every 5 minutes they keep on publishing some of the keep on publishing the checkpoints every 5 minutes to the main chain, and those checkpoints are nothing but cryptographic proofs on the main chain, which can be used to verify some of the transactions or the asset transfers that are happening on the side chain. So those using fraud proofs and other mechanisms, you can verify some of these transactions on the main chain also. So that gives you a three-layered sort of security layer approach. And that's how the Matic Network works. So primary distinction being that Matic Network sidechains are EVM based sidechains rather than only having a UTXO kind of model, which all of the other Plasma implementations use. So having EVM based sidechains where you can use you can have in future you can have your smart contracts also running, and the usability also is almost like what you have with the Ethereum, and and then the Plasma security and some of these guarantees on the main chain for asset transfers and all.
Right. Yeah. Why does Matic Network need this three-layer architecture? Is it because like the first layer, that the sidechain layer, doesn't provide enough security?
Yeah. So basically, there is a famous theory in blockchain ecosystem. It says that it's called scalability trilemma, or decentralization trilemma. So basically, it says that there are three basic tenets or three features that you want to achieve. One is decentralization, second is scalability, third is security, right? And it expects, and it says that you can either choose two of them. So what essentially, if you see Matic Network architecture approach, what happens is that the lowest layer that I spoke about, which is the sidechain layer itself, that layer contributes towards the scalability. That means the number of the block producers. So basically, how do you achieve scalability on blockchain? So essentially, what blockchains do is that everybody in the network, or thousands and thousands of computers, are essentially evaluating or executing the same transactions. How do you achieve scale? Most of the projects, if you see, all of them try to do that only, that they reduce the number of participants who actually execute the transactions on the blockchain, right? So essentially, if you see, the side chains are simply doing the same stuff only. So they also have less number of participants, like 10, 15, 20 participants who produce these fast blocks, right? So, and they have their own consensus mechanism. So they produce very fast kind of blocks. And when the blocks are, so on Matic Network, the block capacity, TPS, is also very, very high. So
how high are we talking about?
So theoretically, it can go up to 65,000 transactions per second, 2 raised to power 16, essentially.
That's per sidechain, and you guys can have more than one sidechain?
We can have hundreds of side chains in this.
Okay.
So this overall capacity can go into like extremely high numbers. But even with one chain we were talking about, so this is per chain 65,000 transactions theoretically is the capacity. And even in our test environments we have been able to achieve around 6,000 to 10,000 transactions per second. That also is like 100 or maybe even 1,000 times higher than the base chain, Ethereum base chain. So what I was saying is that these chains have faster transactions, you produce faster blocks, and you achieve the scalability, or you solve the scalability side of things from the side chain. Then the decentralization and the security part comes from the validator layer and the base chain layer. So that's why we said three layers. So you distribute the work. So one layer provides you the scalability, other two layers enforce decentralization and security on top of this layer. Yeah.
Got it. So you mentioned that anyone can become validator. So validator is a permissionless kind of thing. But what about block producers? What's the requirement to become a block producer?
That also is a permissionless this thing. There also it's purely based on economic incentives. So you have there is a on-chain process where you can actually apply to be a block producer, or you can apply to be a validator, and you have to provide or pledge a certain amount of stake in order to become a validator or the block producer. And then basis the what the other kind of people are putting the stake and all, you are selected, and then you are chosen as a. So, yeah. So no manual or notarization kind of processes and anything. It's purely based on economic incentives.
Got it. So I'm just curious, does Matic Network work with all kinds of different tokens, like for example, fungible token, NFT, and because I know that certain implementations of Plasma, they don't support everything.
Yeah. So that's one of the biggest advantages that using the EVM based approach on the side chain. So we already support ERC 721s also. ERC 20 has been supported since since we launched our testnet, and then other kinds of protocols also we want to support. So in future maybe like the DEX protocols like 0x, and then lending protocols like Dharma or RCN and all that. So we want to support them also. And you pointed out very rightly that it supports other kind of fungible tokens and other kind of variations of those tokens. Yeah.
Got it. And I know that you guys are going to have a token built on top of the Matic network. So can you also tell me about the token utility of the Matic token?
Sure. So the Matic Network token has multiple kind of use cases. So the first use case is the basic use case where this token is used to pay for the gas fees on the side chains, right? And then the second part of the token is that in the entire network, which is more of a POS kind of proof of stake kind of token. So on various layers like the staker layer, and then the block producer layer, the validator layer, in all of these layers you have to use the Matic tokens as the staking token in order to be to be eligible to be participating in the consensus mechanism. So those two are the primary kind of use cases of the network. Then we are also going to support one kind of staking, which is like staking for projects, right? Where we want to have the ecosystem support for the dApp developers and the other kind of developers within the protocol itself. So there also people would be able to stake their tokens against various projects, where those projects can get some rewards, and also the stakers also can get some rewards. So that is the third kind of utility. Also, the Matic Network token is a deflationary token. So every block produced, we keep on burning a certain amount of transaction fees, like 2 to 3% of transaction fees every day. So it's always a deflationary supply, and the token gets more value accrual over the time due to the deflationary supply. Yeah.
Got
And
it.
then there are a lot of secondary use cases like the like the the liquidity pools and the plasma exit kind of solutions, but those are secondary uses of the token. Yeah.
I see. And can you also tell me about the development progress of the network so far? Like what kind of things have you developed so far?
So we are in very advanced, for advanced stage in terms of our product development. So we already have internally, we already have a sort of alpha mainnet version with us, and we are now doing a lot of security testing around it. So maybe mid of November or end of November, we would be putting a sort of invite only kind of network out there, where we'll invite some of the dApp developers, and there are a lot of famous projects which are working, which are already building on top of Matic Network. So uh, you know
Can you disclose those projects, the names?
so yeah. So one of the one of the top projects is a top 100 project who are building a virtual world. So that is one of the top projects. Then there are gaming currency developers, and then there is a gaming company which is building on top of Matic Network, uh, like they're called chainbreakers.io. And then there are multiple other small gaming teams who are exploring building on top of Matic Network. So you can actually check out many of these on our website, which all teams are trying to build on Matic Network. Yeah. So yeah, that's the part. And then I was on to something. Yeah, I lost the track. What I was.
No problem. Yeah. I'm going to ask the next question then. So I know that you have prepared a demo where you can show our audience like what kind of stuff you can do on the Matic Network. Do you want to show that to our audience?
Okay, sure. So I will let me share my screen then, and let me also open. Yeah, so you can see that I am actually on testnet.matic.network, and I'm just using my normal MetaMask system. So this is also very crucial for us, because one of the most important advantages of using this, and you were asking that how this is different from other plasma
Yep.
or other kind of projects. So we think that the developer experience, like not only the user experience, the developer experience is also like much better on Matic Network. It supports all the Web3 and all the kind of Ethereum tools. All of them work out of the box, and we are also the implementers of the product called Dagger, which is a very famous product amongst the Ethereum dApp developers. Already around 200 to 300 dApps are already using Dagger. So all of these tools, Ethereum tools, they work just out of the box. The wallet also, you can see that I'm using MetaMask. This also works out of the box. So as a developer, you don't have to learn anything new. You just have to understand the deposit and withdrawal process for the users. After that, your users, the user experience is exactly the same that you have on Ethereum. So that's also one of the biggest advantages. And I, maybe for the sake of the demo, I can I may want to show you just a simple like a transaction on
Okay.
Matic Network. So yeah. So basically, DAI is one of also the coins that we integrated on our testnet. So like for this account number 3 has 3 DAIs, and my account number 2 has also 3 DAIs. So let me send some some DAI from my account number 2 to account number 3.
So
For
right now
example.
you're sending on the sidechain.
Yes, this is on the sidechain. So you can see that I am actually on the testnet.matic.network.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm sending one DAI from account number 2 to account number 3. Both of these have around 3 DAIs currently, and let's see what the balances are once I confirm the complete the transaction. So right now I just completed the transaction, and let me switch to account number 3, and you would see that before even I switched my accounts, my balance got updated here. So the user experience, since I told you that the Matic side chains have the block produced on the Matic side chains are extremely fast, and their capacity is also high. So
How fast exactly are we talking about? Like the block time?
So currently we have 1 second block times. We also want to achieve like 0.5 seconds block time. So as a user, it's like your real time for you if you're
Right.
using the app. So maybe I can actually, so there is a DEX which we asked some of our interns to build, and I hope that it's working right now also. And like if I want to show you some of the user experience, so like for example, you have like in ether you have a 0.12 ether balance here, and if I want to deposit 1 ether here, so I simply do a confirm and just watch the balance here. So you will see, so like within seconds the balance got updated over. So this was just to demo that if you build a DEX on Matic network, the user experience can actually be like very close to the centralized DEX, centralized exchanges kind of experience, and that's one of our biggest use cases that we want to achieve.
Right. And
Yeah.
just want to ask, like, I know that the block time is very quick, but then what about time to finality? Like, how long does it take to reach finality?
Yeah. So as a user, you always achieve finality within 1 second. So that is the final finality, because the consensus mechanism that is used on the side chain. So that provides you instant finality. That there's not like those scenarios like the divergence of the blockchain and longest blockchain and all that.
So they don't need to wait until the checkpoint that's anchored to the mainnet in order to reach finality?
No. Because these side chains, the Matic side chains are follow a consensus mechanism, which is a leader based consensus mechanism. That means one leader at one time is chosen to propose a block. So that leader is the only leader. Whereas if you compare with other, like even with our proof of work, there the network is leaderless. Anybody can produce the block, and whoever produces it first, he becomes the like block is considered in their name. And then when there multiple people, when multiple people produce the same block at the same time, then there are chain divergences, and that's why you need some number of confirmations to to have the finality. So for a user on the side chain, the finality is instant, and that's the finality on the side chain. But then if users wants to withdraw to the main chain, then there is another layer of finality which is achieved on the Ethereum main chain, so which is achieved every 5 minutes. So if in case you want to withdraw your balances onto the main chain, then only you have to wait for the the finality on the main chain. Otherwise, if you are using any DEX or you are using any particular application, you don't need to wait for the finality of the main chain. So that's just the security measure for you. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. So these were some of the demos that I wanted to show, and
right. So this DEX is built on a sidechain, and let's say for an average user of Ethereum, and I only have a Ethereum mainnet wallet. What can I do? What do I need to do in order to interact with this dApp?
So you actually don't need to do anything. You just need to come here and add Matic Network's the URL. So in future, like we are also in process of launching our Matic official wallet. So a web wallet is already available, and we'll be officially releasing our app also on this. So as a user, you may not need to do anything when you have a Matic wallet, and that Matic wallet will support Ethereum as well as Matic sidechains. But for example, you are using MetaMask or any other standard Ethereum wallet, then you just need to add a new RPC URL, just like you can do HTTPS, and maybe right now the testnet is there, so testnet.matic.network. Then you save and done.
Okay.
Then you now you can come to Matic Network anytime you want. That's how simple it is, and that's how simple we want to keep it, because as I told you, that our focus is on mass adoption. So we get to piggyback on the millions of users of Ethereum which are already there. millions of developers of Ethereum that are already there. So we get to piggyback on that. So yeah, that's one of the core strategies.
Got it. And so what kind of dApps do you foresee are going to be the first types of dApp that will utilize sidechain? Because the scalability issue of Ethereum, like for example, gaming or gambling or like some other kind of dApp. Like, what do you think?
Sure. So already gaming applications. So some of the things I told you, these are some of the top projects which are already building on Matic. So some of them are gaming based. The second big use case that we see, or not the second one, for us, both of these are priority, are the DeFi kind of use cases. So DeFi is decentralized finance, right? So the decentralized finance is also one of the most important use cases for us. So we want to be a platform which is secure and decentralized enough where you can, trust the network to have your financial assets, do financial transactions. Like, there can be lending protocols, there can be DEX protocols, and stable coins and all that. So we want to support an entire financial transaction stack on the Matic side chains. So I already showed you the DAI transaction. So that would be stablecoin would be one of the first use cases. Post that, the DEX and the lending protocols would be the second ones where we want to focus the next.
Right. And you mentioned a little bit, but I want to ask you about the plans for adoption for the project. Like what are the plans that you have in terms of attracting users, developers, and things like that, so that you can ensure there will be adoption and traction for the Matic network?
Sure. So in terms of the adoption, the biggest advantage Matic has is what I already told you, that our marketing strategy is also developer focused. We think that if more developers are there, more dApps can be built on top of it, more users will automatically come if you have some killer dApps on the side chain. So the biggest advantage is that in order to attract the developers, we don't need to struggle hard, because all the Ethereum developers, they can switch to Matic Network in a matter of minutes, right? Not even hours, because it's exactly the same. So we think that that's one of the key functionalities. Secondly, in terms of the users also, there are millions of users who are already familiar with Ethereum. And as I showed you, that as a user, you simply have to use the same kind of wallets like MyEther wallet, MetaMask, whatever you want to use, you can simply use them. So as a user, millions of users are already aware of how to use Ethereum. And secondly, we are also building the Matic, the mobile app as well as the web wallet, which will make the user experience even more, smoother. And the ultimate focus is to rival centralized applications in terms of their user experience. So first thing is to get the entry barrier as low as possible, which you can already see is already there. So you as a blockchain user, you can start using it anytime. That is the first one. Secondly, we have built, as I told you, that in the protocol itself, the protocol supports the ecosystem development. So one is that part. Even in our token allocation or the matrix and all that stuff, so there also in our token matrix, we have kept large proportions where we'll be supporting the dApp developers. So you would know about the airdrop. So a lot of projects do meaningless airdrops where free tokens are distributed to millions of users. Our focus would be that we will be supporting dApp developers by using dApp drops. So world's first dApp drops we want to do. So whether as a user you download some dApp, and in that dApp journey you get some free coins. So we support our dApp developers to get them to have initial.
Just to clarify, those dApps will be the ones deployed on the Matic sidechain.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So to promote them, we give users free Matic coins, and it helps both the things. So it helps users coming on board on Matic Network. It also helps the dApp developers to get the initial critical mass of users where users will use it and then they get the free coins rather than getting just like airdrops to their addresses. So that is also the third part uh, in terms of fueling the user adoption. And then we
Got
think
it.
that if some of the killer dApps come in, and that's why I told you our focus is on dApp developers. So if one killer dApp comes in and where the entry barrier is so low, we hope that the system will go extremely viral very, very quickly. And DEX is also one of our important use cases. If you have some successful big DEXs over there, that also will fuel a lot of user adoption. Yeah.
Right. So there are other layer 2 scaling solutions out there. For example, state channel. Do you think sidechain and state channels they are complementary, or do you think if sidechain are successful, then there's no need for other layer 2 solutions?
So side chains as well as state channels, they have their own technical pros and cons, but we think that for state channels, so either if you are doing only payment channels, then it's okay, like if normal developers are doing it. But for general kind of application building on state channels, the developer experience, as I told you, so for developers have to learn a lot of new things in order to be able to build state channel based applications. Compare it with Matic Network. Matic Network, as I told you in a layman term, is a Ethereum micro universe, or each Matic sidechain is a micro Ethereum running on top of Ethereum, right? And there is a network of these micro Ethereums. So as a dApp developer, you don't need to learn anything. You simply go and deploy a smart contract on one of the public sidechains and start using it. So the developer experience is much better. For state channels, we think that the developer experience would be a big problem to get the mass adoption in terms of the developers, in terms of mass adoption of developers, where developers start building on top of state channels. So that's one of the important this thing. And then there are other technical challenges also, like state channels have been there for last like 2 to 3 years in the form of Lightning Network was the first, Bitcoin Lightning Network is the first state channel implementation. And Ethereum space also, there have been people who have been researching on state channels for last like, 1.5 or 2 years. And, there are technical challenges also, in terms of if the state or the channel based transactions are too many, then how to submit them in order to claim some things on the main chain, like in order to settle the disputes on the main chain. If you have a large number of side chain, the transactions on the state channels off chain, and then how do you get them to solve the dispute? If there is a dispute on the main chain, how do you submit that large data set on the main chain on a smart contract to settle the dispute? And similar like things like that. So we come from the sidechain category of solutions, and definitely we believe more in the sidechains because of the developer experience, as I told you, and then some of the other implementation details. So yeah, so we think that those would be ultimate winners in the long run.
Right. And I know that Matic Network has different investors and advisors. Is there any of them that you can disclose, and how are they adding value to the project?
So sure. So we have 3 advisors on board with us. So we have Pete Kim, who's the head of engineering of wallet at Coinbase. So he is advising us and he is helping us in terms of, so he comes from a Toshi background. So we also intend to launch an app store. So he's helping us in overall user acquisition strategy using our web wallet, mobile wallet, and all that, and guiding us on that, providing his inputs on that, and then later on when we want to go for the app store and all that. So overall, design strategy around the user facing part of our applications. And then we have Esteban, who has been like really helpful in terms of building the core technical offering. So he's the co-founder and CTO at Decentraland. And then Ari, who is the CEO the co-founder and CEO of Decentraland, he's also our advisor. So Ari is helping us in terms of our go-to-market strategy, how to do our overall marketing and all that. So these 3 are our advisors. So yeah.
Got it. And my last question for you, how can people find out more about Matic Network? How can they learn more about the project?
So our website is the best starting point, and then from there, website plus our GitHub. So we, for the developers, we recently launched our SDK in the name of Matic.js. So if you go to GitHub and go to Matic Network, and you will find the Matic.js SDK over there, and you can start exploring how to integrate. We have done a fair bit of documentation around it, because a few teams have also already integrated with it. So those two would be the main source of information. Apart from that, we keep on posting our updates and everything on our Telegram announcement channel and our community channel. We have a fairly big community channel of around more than 9,500 members, so you can join that also, in order to keep updating yourself in terms of what are the updates in Matic Network. So those are some of the main areas. Then our Twitter handle is also is one of our main announcement areas. So yeah, we would love if you follow our Twitter handle also. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's been great having you on the show, Sandeep. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me.
Yeah, same to you, Victor. Thanks a lot for inviting us on Crush Crypto, and this has been really good time. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Great, thank you.